Info Factory Track for CSI, Purchase Order Receiving. Factory Track has the ability to support a combined or separated purchase order receiving and put away process. Administrators can configure the parameters to control how the purchase order receiving process is handled based on several parameter settings. These parameters are defined on the transaction set maintenance form for the purchase receipt transaction. Please note this video is based on a combined put-away process by enabling the combined put-away parameter. This allows us to define a location into which we will receive the purchase order items. In a separated or non-combined process, the process will default the receipt location based on an additional parameter. This is set on the Parameter tab of the Warehouse Parameter form, setting the location on the purchase receipt location. To start the receiving process, from the Info Cloud Suite Industrial main menu, click on the Get It icon. This will navigate to the inbound transaction screens where you click on the purchase receipt icon. This opens the purchase order receipt, and we have two options. We can either receive against a purchase order or against goods receipt note. A goods receipt note can support a partial purchase order shipment to a combination of several purchase orders or PO lines. The default option is configurable in the transaction parameters defined in Factory Track. To receive from a purchase order, first of all we select PO for the receipt type. We enter or search or select the warehouse ID to which items are being received. Enter or search and select the purchase order ID against which you're receiving items. Optionally, we can enter the purchase order line ID for the item that we are receiving, or we can enter the item ID. You can also click on the search icon to display the item still to be received on this PO. We can enter a document number to be used to tie the transactions together. We then click on Next to navigate to the item selection screen. The purchase order line selection screen is displayed in the event that no line or item was provided on the previous screen. This displays all the open purchase order lines for this particular purchase order. We select or highlight the correct record for the item that is being received and hit on Next to receive. This brings up the main receiving screen. It displays the required quantity and units of measure and allows the user to specify the location to which the items are being placed. The location defaulting is based on the transaction parameters for the combined put-away and locations from warehouse parameters. In this example, it is defaulting from the rank 1 location defined for the item. If you search on this field, it will show the ranked locations defined for the item, but any of these locations can be entered. Enter the received quantity and the unit of measure you're receiving against the PO. Specify whether the item will be received to a container for interim collection. This field defaults to no, but if yes is provided, then a container must be defined by selecting from the existing or entering a new container ID. Click on Receive to actually perform the receipt. If the item was lot controlled, we need to specify the lot number. We can enter, scan, or have the application automatically generate a lot ID to be associated. Auto generation will occur if the field is left blank and will be defined based on the format defined in the parameters. We can also enter or scan the vendor lot ID to be associated with this particular lot, and click on Receive to confirm the receipt. In order to receive serial tracked items with a purchase order, a similar process with additional serial specific fields are used. After completing the initial entry form, the application displays a form to capture and process your serial information. The received quantity entered is displayed in the total quantity field. Additionally, a scanned quantity field is displayed to indicate the number of serial numbered items that have been captured so far in the process. There is an option to scan or auto-generate serial numbers defined by the specification in the Generate field. If yes is selected, the application will populate the scan value to match the total quantity and immediately provide the processing options. We can click on the Receive button to actually perform the receipt. To receive serial tracked items for purchase order with manual definition of the serial numbers, we would select No for the Generate field and then enter or scan the serial numbers. For each serial number entered, the scan field value will increase. Once the scan value equals the total quantity value, the Receive Process option becomes available. Additionally, a Show or Clear List option is available to display or clear all or delete specific serial numbers captured in the process. To receive goods from a single vendor that may include partial or a combination of purchase orders, a goods receiving note may be used. Process is very similar to the PO process with the exception of the initial step. We select the GRN for the receipt type, enter or search or select the warehouse ID, enter or select the vendor ID. We can use a pop-up to view the vendors if necessary. Enter or select the goods receiving note ID. Again, we can have a pop-up to list the valid GRNs. Optionally, we can enter the GRN line ID and the item and the document number used to tie the transactions together. We then hit next to perform the receiving, and the receiving process is identical to that used for the purchase order receiving.